my honor, my privilege to have in the studio with me a World War II veteran living right here in Lawton, Oklahoma. I'm sure there are probably more than just you, Dr. Spencer, but you are the one that actually got brought to my attention because of your experience with the B-17 bombers. We visited for quite a while yesterday on the phone, and I have to tell you, I am just completely fascinated by you.
Thank you.
Now that I have your cell phone number, I may be a stalker. You're just going to have to be. You'll have to be aware of that now. Tell me, World War II. Of course, it's a completely different time than what we're living in right now. And you told me you were only 19 years old when you first started flying on missions. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Now that's not there was no draft back then, so you had to decide that you wanted to be a part of military, right?
Yeah, I graduated from high school. In fact, I was a senior in high school in 1942 when Pearl Harbor came along.
Right.
And I graduated the following May of 1942. And back in those days, there was a bunch of us guys who wanted to go to California, worked in shipyards for a while. So we did, but we left in the fall, and then the next spring, there was about a dozen of us, and the next spring we kind of drifted back 2 or 3 at a time, and then entered whatever service we wanted to get into. We weren't drafted; we volunteered.
Okay.
And I'd seen a lot of movies with these hotshot pilots, girls were chasing them.
I was going to say they always get the girl, don't they?
Anyway, I thought that I would like to try to get into the Army Air Corps and become an aviation cadet and get my wings and
wow.
Go from there.
Well, you actually, and tell me, just lead me up to your plane getting shot down. It was your 13th mission.
Yes.
So you're still a kid. You're still 19 years old.
Let's see now. By that time, I was 20, though.
Okay, 20 years old.
20 years old.
And you're in a plane that gets shot down. Where? Where were you at?
Well, March the 18th, it was actually near the tail end of the war, and we were flying deeper and deeper into Germany, and the big raids were to get Berlin. That was the nucleus of the whole thing, and so we took off that morning, and we were flying. Also, a term that a lot of people don't know about, we were flying tail end Charlie. Aircraft are 3, 3, 3, 3.
Right.
And then when they want to add another flight, they stick him on the back end, the 13th aircraft. And so we were flying tail end Charlie that way, and that made us more susceptible to being attacked
because you weren't in the group
from the rear.
Right.
So right after we had turned on to the IP, which is the initial point where just before you make your bomb run, we had just turned on the IP, and there was an Me-262, that German jet that got out late in the war, that came after us, and the first pass he made, he got a horizontal stabilizer, knocked it off, and we were losing altitude.
Oh, no.
And then he came back the second time and got the right outboard engine, the number 4 engine, and it was on fire. And then the third pass, he came from 6 o'clock low underneath, and I never heard the louder noise in all my life. That nose cannon went right through the fuselage, and of course that shut off our oxygen, our heat, our communications, and we were at 25,000 feet when we started, and we were down by 22,000 feet by that time, and so I couldn't communicate with my aircraft commander. So I looked up through my celestial bubble at him like I'm looking at you now. He nodded his head. Yes, I knew what that meant. That meant bail out. See, there's an order of bailout, and the navigator's the first guy to bail out, and a crew like that, because we have less to do with the flying capacity of the aircraft. So I went down and bailed out.
Oh my goodness! How many crew members are on a flight like that?
9.
9.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness! How many survivors were on that flight?
Well, we lost our on that third pass. We lost the tail gunner and the ball turret gunner. He's the one underneath, and then one of the waist gunners, and the other 6 of us bailed out.
Oh wow! Wow. Now, your daughter was telling me that you got hung up in a tree.
Well, when I it seemed like it took forever to
It's
land.
like slow motion, right?
But there's something that's interesting. I told you I bailed out first.
Yes.
And I meant to pull a delayed jump, but I guess I just instinctively pulled the ripcord, and it was socked down in my chute just right away.
Oh, no.
So I couldn't see my aircraft, so I got a hold of the riser cords, pulled myself around where I could see the plane, and I saw that it was headed. See, the Russian lines were only about 30 miles away at that time because we were right at Berlin. And I thought, oh, my heavens, here I am floating down over Germany, and those guys are going to the Russian lines. So my chute turned me around again. So I got a hold of it, cranked it around again where I could see the aircraft, just in time to see the aircraft go into a cloud bank and explode.
Oh, no.
Then I had a change of emotion because
you didn't even know that the other crew members had gotten out.
No, at that time I didn't know. See, at that time I thought, oh, here I am floating down over Germany. No, they're not going to the Russian lines. They're blown up. But about 3 days later, I ran into my my flight engineer in Berlin, and found out what really happened. Because I couldn't tell because I bailed out first. They bailed out last. So.
Oh, wow.